Okay,
Probably say this.
probably.
Got it.
Okay, I think we're recording.
All
Okay, now
right.
what are my questions? Okay, so Brian Curtis, tell
Yes.
us where you work in your position.
Okay. I work at the National Renewable Energy Lab,
Awesome.
and I am technically what they call a group manager, but I'm responsible for the financial planning and analysis group at the lab.
Awesome. Okay, great. What part of your job do you like the best and what part do you like the least?
Um, I like working on the financial strategy the most.
Okay.
That's probably what I like the best is working on, how to best utilize the budget that we have and most efficiently use the funding that we receive.
Mhm.
Um, what do I like the least? There's a lot of rules and regulations that we have to deal with. And while that's fun and challenging, it's at times it can be frustrating.
Mhm. Fair. When you work when you work on this, is it like a one person job or is it like a team of you guys?
It's a team of us. I actually
Okay.
have, I think, a total about 20 employees
Okay.
underneath me. I have 5 employees that report to me, and it's usually a team. And then I report up to the director. So it's always a team effort whenever we're doing something. We have a group of financial analysts that do a lot of the legwork and the crunching of the numbers. And then we have what's called business managers above them, which are their managers. And they do kind of the oversight as well as more of the high level analysis and reporting.
Mhm.
And I work with them all the time on ideas and different reports and analysis and strategies. So it's definitely a group effort.
Perfect. Love it. Run me through like a typical day, or does it
Oh my,
change, fluctuate?
it fluctuates a lot. Depends. I've been in a lot
Okay.
of meetings lately. Um, a lot of it is I'm involved in a lot of like strategic projects. From the standpoint of how do we grow the revenue? What we call it's actually called costing or funding within the lab. So how do we best grow the funding from our lab? Also, how do we best report the information to the executives?
Okay.
Do we need to gather different information? Do we need to put together different dashboards? Do we need to put together different reports? Also at my level, I'm responsible for like people strategy, so how do we bring in the right employees, the best employees? How do we make sure they're trained, and they know, the rules and regulations that they have to follow? Also answering a lot of questions from the people that work for me,
Mhm.
brainstorming ideas, asking technical questions that they sometimes have regarding like the rules and regulations and boundaries that we have to live in from a finance perspective.
Right.
I'm in Excel a lot, which I love. So
Mhm.
I'm in Excel doing a lot of modeling. I do less of
Okay.
that now than in my previous roles, but
Mhm.
it is a lot of analysis of numbers in Excel and developing reports and presentations because we do a lot of presenting to the executives on our financial results and obviously then the initiatives that I'm part of and leading.
Gotcha. So Excel is definitely something that we should really focus in on for
Yep.
your job at least.
Yep.
Okay, good. Good. Um, would you say that that's one of the most important things like people should know going into your industry, or like what's one thing that's kind of big to focus on when you're like looking at employees and stuff? Who to
Well,
bring in?
you need to love numbers. You need to be analytical.
Mhm.
You do need to enjoy being in Excel. Absolutely. Yeah, and you need to be creative. I found that to be very helpful.
In what way?
You know, uh, and I guess I kind of look at accounting versus finance. Accounting is looking at the past. What did we spend? How much did we spend? What revenue came in? On a finance side, where I live, it's like where are we going and how do we get there from a finance and number perspective. So if we want to, for example, grow the lab to $1 billion, how are we going to get there? What does that look like? What does the forecast look like? If we do this, how does that impact our potential revenue we bring in? If we do this, what does it impact? How does it impact? If we go here, how many people do we need to hire, and what does that do to the expense? So it's a lot of creativity, kind of thinking about possibilities going forward,
Mhm.
as opposed to in accounting, it's more like what did we do and how are we going to report that? So
Okay.
I definitely think creativity is helpful.
Love that. Do you feel like you're in, I guess, do you feel like your industry, like not your industry, but just sort of, do you feel like what you do fluctuates and like changes, or is it just mainly like you're always looking at the next thing and
No,
looking at how to create it?
there's a lot of change, and it depends on the industry. I work for the National Renewable Energy Lab. We
Right.
are funded 85% by the Department of Energy. So there's a lot of rules and regulations within being our main revenue slash funding is from the Department of Energy. So there's a lot of rules and regulations that we have to abide by. Those change,
Right.
periodically. So you
Right.
need to fluctuate with that. There's obviously technology changes. When I started working, there was no such thing as the internet. So
True.
move forward 30 years and there's a lot of technology change.
Right.
Even just within Excel itself is coming up with different ways of analyzing data. We're rolling out Power BI, which is it's a tool for visualizing information. So we're now utilizing that to present our data and our information, financial information, to the executives. So I think technology changes definitely impact what we need to know, what we need to learn, what we can take advantage of
Hmm.
when doing our job. Um, yeah, so there's a lot like ChatGPT. I haven't even thought about that. AI.
Yeah.
How can AI help us?
Right.
There's some people in our group thinking about how can AI help us.
Right.
So it's far from stagnant. Definitely far from stagnant.
Yeah. Do you feel like if you didn't have all of these rules and regulations, like your job would be ran differently, or is it just
Yeah,
kind of?
it would be. Because I was in the private sector before,
Mhm.
and there are different rules and regulations. The finance and accounting world there are rules and regulations in place
Right.
for a good reason. So I've always had to deal with rules and regulations. But in my current job, there's more. Because in essence, the whole basis for the rules and regulations is that we're using taxpayers' money to do research. So we are stewards of the taxpayers' money. So we need to make sure that we're utilizing it in the best form or fashion possible. And over years, that has built up a bunch of rules and regulations that we need to follow to ensure that we are following those. We are basically stewarding the taxpayers' dollars. I think rules and regulations are needed. Obviously, they provide a challenge from the standpoint of your day-to-day job.
Right.
But kind of looking at history with Enron, which is way before your time, but that was a big accounting scandal where people lost money. Even in the investment community, where people are taken advantage of. There's rules and regulations that are. It's a good thing for having rules and regulations. Sometimes you go overboard with them, but I think overall they're good. Good for making sure that we're on the up and up when we're doing our job.
Awesome. Okay, great. That was awesome. That's all the questions that I had
That's
for
it.
you.
All right.
Yes,
Well, if
you
you have any more,
flew
give me a
through them.
holler.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let me stop this recording.
Okay.